All right, I think we are ready to get started. Welcome, everyone. This is Glendale Community College Library's Research Questions um, Zoom workshop, an early one for most people, but not so much for us, hopefully. So my name is Aisha Connor Gayden. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm a librarian here, and actually the librarian who manages the workshop program. So if you ever have any questions, you can absolutely contact me through the library and I can help you out. But welcome to Research Questions. So this particular library workshop, you'll do two things. One is articulate the needs and scope of research, such as deadlines, source types, citation style, and other project requirements. Um, the second is to formulate a research question to guide inquiry. And basically that means in this workshop, we're going to check to make sure you understand an assignment. So we're going to look at some assignment prompts and do some polling, check out if we understand what people are asking us to do, because that's the first part of research, is actually knowing what you need to do and what you need to find. The second, we will learn a few different methods for creating a research question, and one in particular called concept mapping. We're going to do a activity together where we will concept map, hopefully, something, and this is just one of many methods. I think in future workshops, my plan is to kind of have you do maybe more, a whole bunch of different ones. But for now, we'll focus on concept mapping, and I'll just kind of introduce the others. If you have questions throughout this workshop, you have multiple ways to let me know. You can raise your virtual hand. I can also see video, but since no one's on video, virtual hand works best. Then you can get on mic. You can also chat to me. I'm very good about chat. I grew up in the beginnings of the internet, so I'm very much an online person. So I'm not like just zoning out and looking at the screen. I am looking at chat as well. So you can always chat me if you have a question. Throughout this workshop, I will expect you to do some engagement. So I'll ask you questions. Hopefully you will answer those questions, or at least an educated guess. Those are always welcome. You don't have to know the answer. You just have to try. I'll ask you if everyone's doing okay. I'll expect kind of a virtual thumbs up or down, or a chat question if you have it. And then we will be doing great. Hopefully, while we've been kind of opening up this workshop, you've committed to submitting that pre-survey that I put in the chat. If you haven't, let me paste it one more time. Again, go ahead and open that link, and you're going to complete that short survey. It's like 4 questions or something, pretty fast. I can take a moment for you to move over if you're on a smartphone to change screens. But again, the purpose of this workshop is to make sure we can understand and read assignments, prompts. What are they asking us to do? And then hopefully formulate a research question. So create a research question or topic. Okay, so let's move forward. All right, so like I said, that first thing that we want to learn today is about the actual assignment. So what's the assigned topic? How's it related to the course? What is the context? So what is happening around this topic right now in this particular time? Who's involved? Where physically? Like what location? Most of the research you have at Glendale Community College is going to be guided by a course assignment. Your instructor usually gives you what we call an assignment prompt, or possibly a description. So you know what needs to be included in your assignment and what it should look like when it is complete. A lot of times they'll also give you what we call a rubric, which will be kind of alongside your assignment in Canvas. You can open it and say like show rubric. I have to put an example in here so you guys can see that. But the rubric will tell you exactly what they're grading you on. So are they grading you on spelling? Are they saying you have to have good punctuation and grammar and use the right words? And then they're also grading you on content? Or are they just concerned about you being able to say what you want to say in your own words, right? The rubric will tell you exactly how they're grading your assignment. In addition to that rubric, you should look for these things that are here on the slide. What is your assigned topic? So what do you have to actually talk about? When is it due? What's the timeline for completion? So a lot of instructors will have what we call scaffolding. So they have one thing due, They'll have you do maybe find a source. Then the next thing will be finding 2 sources. Then the third thing will find 3 sources and you have to explain them. And then the fourth thing will be you writing a draft. And the fifth thing will be you submitting a final project or maybe a PowerPoint. And then the last thing is like the final research paper. So they try to build so you're not constantly just spitting out like big, huge essays at the last minute, right? And that's when we get in trouble is when we don't have any sort of information before the big thing is due. And we feel like we haven't really done anything that will help us be able to complete that huge paper at the end. So a lot of times people will have smaller projects due that will help you get to the big project at the end. In addition to these other things for your assignment prompt, you should also, of course, look for what is the minimum or maximum number of pages, sources that you need. So the information that you need to find, the sources. Do you need have a minimum number? And we'll look at some examples where they say exactly what kind of sources and how many. If it's a presentation, maybe there's a certain number of slides you have to have. So like it's a 5-minute presentation, 1 minute per slide, 5 slides, right? Some people are that specific when it comes to their assignments. And then lastly, what types of information do you want to include? So what source types are you supposed to have? Do you have to have newspapers? Do they expect you to go on the web and look at websites? Are they saying find a peer-reviewed article, which we totally have a workshop about peer-reviewed articles. If you don't know what that is or you've never used one, we have a workshop that can help you figure out how to find them in the library. Do you have to find a book or do they want you to use something else, right? What do they require in terms of your sources of information? And then lastly, what citation style do you need to use? These are templates where you are basically citing a source. You're saying where you found a source, and there's a certain way you have to outline where you found it using these styles. Are people already using styles in their class yet? Citation styles? Let me know either with thumbs or if you know your style, put it in the chat. Are we using citation styles? Yes, Eunice is MLA. Yep, Modern Language Association or MLA. That's a really common one. All of the what we call humanities use those. English, social sciences, art, they usually use it. Sometimes people use APA, that's the psychological sciences, the American Psychological Association, Chicago style. It depends on there's an engineering one, for example, called IEEE. So it just depends on what your class is doing. Okay, so MLA is one of these that we know. Okay, so let's look at some examples. So here are some examples of exactly what I said. These are actual real assignment prompts that are at Glendale. I changed the information obviously to be a little more generic, but the outline is exactly what you'll see in your class. Number 1 says, generate your own topic related to education and connected to the themes of language, knowledge, and or power. Includes 6 sources, of which 3 are articles from GCC library databases. No anonymous sources accepted. Use MLA style, like Eunice told us, and 6 to 7 pages in length, plus a works cited. It's due 4 weeks from now, right? So in each of these parts, this person tells you exactly what they want you to do. In the first part, they're saying you need to have a topic related to education, and there's themes, right? So how does education relate to power? How does it relate to having knowledge? How does it relate to having language? Then it says you need 6 sources, so 6 places to find information, and then 3 of them need to be from GCC library. And we have databases, like I said, that will give you those sources, and we have 2 workshops that will show you how to do those. And I'll make sure to put those in the chat at the end. Again, they don't want you to choose anything where you don't know who wrote it. So no anonymous sources. So if there's no author and it's not clear to you who wrote that, you should not be citing it for this paper. Again, MLA style, it should be 7 pages max. And that includes the works cited page with your references. And that's due from a week from now. So again, assignment prompts really do outline every single thing you need to include. If you're ever stuck on like, what is my person asking for? Oops. Sorry, didn't mean to click that. Back. Um, what do they want me to do? Look at the assignment prompt again. What are they asking you? Any questions about assignment prompts? I'm assuming folks already have them. Give me a thumbs up if you're fine, or a chat question, or thumbs down if you want me to do another example. Okay, this is the interactive portion. So this is where you say, I'm okay, I'm not dead. Okay, Eunice wants to know. Yeah, okay, let's go over example 2 for Eunice and others who may need this. So again, assignment prompts tell us exactly what our instructor wants us to do. So example 2, let me let this person in. Example 2 says, write an analytical essay about the cultural, social, and or political importance of music. So this is from a real music class that we have at Glendale. An analytical essay is where you take a piece of music, in this case, and you're going to analyze or describe and explain the piece of music in these particular ways. So culturally, what does music do for us? What is it? How does it change across cultures? Is it different in Japan? Is it different in America? Socially, do people feel connected when they listen to music together? What does having music in a social circle do for us? Or politically, how do people use music to um, make change? How do they talk to people about the politics or the government or what's happening to people every day through music, right? So these different ways we can talk about it. That's analytically. You're explaining and making connections. Then specifically analyze, again, so we're explaining one artist or album that holds personal significance to you. So if you're a Swiftie, you love Taylor Swift, you can choose Taylor Swift in this example, and you would have to write an essay explaining her impact and how her music has changed our culture, our society, and the politics, perhaps. I know she recently came out in support of Kamala Harris. So perhaps that's something politically you could talk about in your art, in your paper. This essay should be 6 to 8 pages long. So again, 6 to 8 pages in whatever style. In this case, MLA. It's usually I think it's Times New Roman, 12-point font, double spaced. There's like a whole standard. You just follow the template exactly. Your sources should include 2 to 4 peer-reviewed articles from GCC library databases, of which 1 to 2 will be music reviews. So again, this part of the assignment prompt, which is what our instructor gives us to tell us what we have to do for the homework, there should be 2 to 4 peer-reviewed articles. So these are articles that have been evaluated to make sure they are true, factual, credible, and accurate, and they need to come from the library. And again, we have 2 workshops that help you find articles in the library. One is called Using Peer-Reviewed Articles. So check that one out. I'll put the link in the chat at the end. The other is called Pro Tips for Finding Sources. So again, the assignment prompt tells you the thing you're doing, in this case, an essay, what the topic is, the cultural, social, and political importance of music, what you're actually talking about, in this case, an artist or album that holds personal significance to you, how long it is, 6 to 8 pages in length, how it's formatted or cited, MLA style, the sources you have to use, 2 to 4 peer-reviewed articles from GCC library, and then when it is due, which at the very last there in that light blue color, if you can't see it, it says due 5 weeks from today. So again, assignment prompts are telling you exactly what you have to do for your homework, and you have to make sure you understand each part so you can get the full credit for your assignment. And this is important when it comes to research questions because you have to develop a topic that makes sense for the assignment prompt. And we're going to do that together. Okay. Thumbs up if we're doing better. And welcome, Maureen. You just joined us. We just started, so you made it in the cut. We're literally
Hi.
just reviewing assignments prompts. Good morning. Okay. So, yep. We got virtual thumbs up if you're doing okay. Chat questions if you're not. And again, all we're doing is reviewing what assignments tell us to do. Okay. All right, so let's do a quick activity. And this should be, again, we just kind of did this. Again, this is another real life prompt from a GCC assignment. So a professor here actually uses this prompt. We're going to read it together. And then there's letters on each of these sections. And you're going to tell me which letter corresponds to the question that I'm going to ask you. So again, very, very simple. For example, I'll say, when is this essay due? And you'll say, oh, looks like E, right? Your final essay is due on the first day, Monday of finals week. So one of these letters is going to correspond, again, just to make sure we understand how to read an assignment prompt. Okay. So here's our prompt. I'm going to read it aloud. We will be reading and discussing issues currently affecting women around the nation and the globe. Your assignment for this semester is to choose one political or cultural issue affecting women anchored on a particular current event that has occurred in the past 12 months. You will write an analytical essay of 5 to 6 pages, not including the works cited list, that assesses the event and its impact on women. Your analysis must refer to a minimum of 3 sources from the GCC library, one of which is a peer-reviewed journal article. Use MLA style to format the essay and its citations. Your final essay is due on the first day, Monday, of finals week. Okay, so that's our assignment prompt. Now, here's our first question. Again, you're going to put the corresponding letter to the part that you think it is. What do you need to turn in this? What do you need to do to turn in this assignment? Is it a paper, a presentation? Which letter tells you what type of paper you are turning in? A, B, C, D, or E? What kind of paper are we turning in for this assignment prompt? And you can just put it in the chat. A, B, C, D, or E? Okay, Eunice says C. Anybody else? What part of our assignment prompt tells us the type of paper that we need to turn in? Okay. All right. So, yeah, we got it all. Everyone said C. That's correct. So, again, C says you will write an analytical essay of 5 to 6 pages, right? So, we are writing an analytical essay and it needs to be 5 to 6 pages long. Okay. Let's do one more. What are the sources you need to find? A, B, C, D, or E? What are the sources you need to find? A, B, C, D, or E? Okay, yep, everyone's got it. So D says your analysis must refer to a minimum of 3 sources, right? It tells us exactly how many we need, and one of those has to be peer reviewed. So again, if you don't know what a peer reviewed source is, take our using peer reviewed workshop, and we will not only tell you what it is, we will help you find one. Okay. So again, so this is all you're doing with your assignment, and again, this is going to be helpful because for many assignments, you have to understand the issue or subject that you have to consider. So many of these topics will be very broad, and you'll need to find what interests you about the issue and narrow what we call the scope. So, how big or small is your topic to find the actual sources you need? So, appropriate research. How do we find the amount of sources we need for our topic? So, again, you need to make sure you have what we call a just right research question. So let's get into that. So research questions, and a lot of times you actually have a research topic here. It's very rare at GCC for someone to have a research question, but a research topic is too narrow when the question can be answered with a simple statistical fact. And that's our first bullet point on this slide. So a lot of times people want to do so say we have our assignment prompt and they're like, oh, what topic do you want to do? And someone's like, oh, well, I want to know about businesses. So I'm going to do like something on how many businesses opened in 2021. Now, this is a great question. But in terms of a research topic, so where you have to find multiple sources and analyze or talk about something, explain something, this is a fact. This is a number, right? You can actually Google how many people open businesses in 2021. There's no additional information that you need to explain as a research topic. So again, when you're looking at a research topic or question, if it can be answered with a simple fact, It is not a proper question. It's too small. It's too narrow. Um, Additionally, if your question takes less than one page to answer, or there aren't enough sources. So sometimes you'll find a topic that you're really interested in, but it's too soon. Um, and there's not enough on it, right? So you might find some newspaper articles, but you're not going to find any real research that is peer reviewed or that has been evaluated over time because the topic is too recent. So again, if you wanted to write something, it's been in the news lately. I think the mayor of New York City just got in trouble with the federal, he got indicted on federal charges, right? So that just came out like maybe 24 hours ago. If I was to go look for information about that, and his name is Eric Adams, if y'all don't know. Uh, yep, there he is on Google, indicted. So there's news, right? There's articles, I can find videos, but in terms of peer-reviewed scholarly articles, they're not going to have anything more than what just broke today. So 1 hour ago, 7 minutes. I mean, this stuff is so recent. I can't write a whole paper on this. There's just not enough information. Now, maybe I could go back and look at some other articles that have been written about him over his entire time as the mayor. But in terms of information about him and this particular topic, there's got not enough. This just happened. So I need more time, or I need to broaden my topic to something that's going to give me more information about him, right? And again, I have an example here. At the time, remember Hurricane Hillary that happened in LA, and everyone thought we were going to get blown away or whatever, and then it turned out to be kind of chill. So, at the time, there wasn't a ton on Hurricane Hillary. I'm sure if I even looked up now in our databases in the library, there probably isn't enough articles about this because people just didn't publish. There wasn't a lot of effects. We didn't have any like biological problems because of it. Nobody got blown away off the planet. So there probably aren't going to be a ton of peer-reviewed or like scholarly sources. So sources written by scholars in the field who are knowledgeable and factual and who have written like, real articles on this topic. So again, research topics, you want to get to what we call a just right topic. When it's too small or narrow, it can be answered with a fact, a number. So how many businesses? 5, 10, 15. It doesn't have enough information for a full research paper, so it's going to take 1 page or less, or there just aren't enough articles written about it yet because it's too recent. Any questions about that? Again, this is too narrow. So we're going to go too narrow, and then we'll go too broad, and then we'll get to just right. And that's what the thing is for research topics. You're trying to get to just right. It's giving Goldilocks and the Three Bears. If you remember that story where the bears like eat the porridge and they sit in the chairs, and it's like, which chair is good for you? You want to find the one that fits your butt. This is what we're doing. Okay. All right, so let's move forward. All right, so now we did too narrow. Let's talk about too broad. So a topic is too broad when there's just too much information published. So for example, sometimes people come to the library and they say, well, my aunt had cancer. I want to learn more about her treatment and what's happening to her right now. I care a lot about this topic. And we're like, great, I love that. You're engaged. We love that you have something personal going on that's relating this topic. It'll make you care more. Then they say, I want my research topic to be what causes cancer in women. And again, great idea, and great question. But when we talk about cancer in women, you're going to get bajillions of articles. So again, if we go to Google and I just put cancer in women, you get this little crazy AI overview, which I'll ignore. And they used to give you your numbers. Now you don't have the numbers anymore. But I mean, there's probably a bajillion, I don't even know how many pages of stuff that I would have to go through about cancer in women, right? There's just too many. So look, all the most common cancers, um, how to prevent cancers, all the different, there's like a whole list of just the types of cancers you can have, right? There's too much information about this. This is too broad of a topic in terms of your actual results. So we need to narrow this. Again, if you did this for a paper, you would be overwhelmed very quickly. Throat cancer, lung cancer, uterine cancer, symptoms of cancer, how to treat cancer, where is cancer most likely to occur, what causes cancer in women and environmentally? Do you mean racially? In terms of like different ethnicities having cancer more often than others? Do you mean economically poor women having cancer more than women who have more money? There's so many angles for this topic. There's just too much information. So again, if there's too many aspects or too many ways to talk about that topic and it's too big, you can't cover that in an essay. So a lot of people too are be like, "Oh, I'm interested in mental illness," right? And we're like, "Cool. Great topic." But then they say, "Well, I want to talk about how people struggle with it in the United States." I'm like, "Cool, but that's still too big of a topic." Mental illness as a topic itself, huge topic. Do you mean disorders? Do you mean personality ones? Do you mean ones that are caused by environmental factors like if too much drug use and like your brain debilitates and you like lose reality? Do you mean ones that are naturally occurring where you're just born with a disorder and you have to medicate for it? Um, do you mean people being poor and that's why they have more mental illness, or unhoused and they become mentally ill? Like what? There's way too many aspects. So again, too broad means there's too much information. You have to add something to your topic to get more specific. And that's usually what ends up happening with these topics. You're going from either too narrow, too broad, and you want to be somewhere in the middle. Again, you want that just right. Um, okay, questions, comments, concern. Give me thumbs up if you get this, because we're going to look at some just right, and I think this will make way more sense. Okay, Eunice is good. Anybody else? Are y'all still alive out there? Again, we did too narrow, we did too broad. And now let's look at just right. So what does just right mean? Just right in terms of a research question, it's clear and focused. You know exactly the purpose of your question, who is involved. So sometimes there's a population involved, and what you need to find to answer the question. So if am I looking at symptoms? Am I looking at causes? Am I looking at factors? Am I looking at environmental factors? Basically, it's a sweet spot between too narrow and too broad, right? We talked about that. So too much information, not enough information. You want something that's right in between, where you have just enough to answer your question and write a paper. Usually it's complex, so there's a controversy to it in terms of like maybe there's differing perspectives. You want to have multiple viewpoints, so multiple different ways people talk about the question. Sometimes it starts with how and why, not always. And then I think lastly, this is super important. You actually care about it. A lot of times people pick topics that they don't care about because they feel like they need to just get the assignment done. And while I understand that, it absolutely makes it horrible to do research. Try to connect the topic to something you truly love. Like I said, a lot of people connect it to their family or maybe something that they like to do, like sports or knitting or ping pong, whatever you're into. There is a way to connect your assignment prompt, even if it's for a specific class. There's usually a way to connect it to something that you care about or that you're interested in if it's about that class. So again, just right is clear and focused. There's a purpose to the question. You can tell who's involved, maybe even where it's happening. And again, it's usually a complex issue that you care about. So let's look at some examples. All right. So let's say we're in a women's studies class and they want us to do our topic issue is disparities in women's health, which means the differences between women's health. And so again, we're like, okay, we can go so many ways with this. Again, I have that aunt. Maybe I want to research like what's going on with her some more. Maybe I want to talk about my own issues as a woman in terms of my health. You can go a lot of different ways, right? But let's look at some examples of too broad, too narrow, and just right. So too broad would be, why do women have heart disease? So there's a number of causes of heart disease. Writing a paper on this would be endless. You'd have to talk about people's actual physical hearts, so explaining how a heart works and why the disease forms. Then you have to talk about like which types of women. So are you talking about older women, younger women, black women, women with children, women who live next to nuclear plants? Like which women are we talking about and where? Right? Right now, we're talking about all women everywhere, the entire globe of women who have heart disease. That's too much information. So again, too broad in terms of a topic. Too narrow will be, why is aspirin recommended for men to avoid heart disease, but not women, right? This is like a question you can actually ask Google. Um, You can literally just be like, oh yeah, let's just look that up, right? There's like an answer to this. It's like, oh yeah, um, you don't want to take aspirin because of this part, all right? So taking aspirin does this. It's just a fact. This is one health article that we could look at, and that's your whole thing. Now you could talk about studies and the stuff in terms of like heart disease, but it's usually an answer to a question. You could say, why is it recommended? Well, because ventricles, blah blah blah, right? It's a pretty straightforward question. Again, it can be answered with a fact. This is why aspirin is um, recommended for women, for men, but not women. You can use one blog article to answer that. It's too narrow. So what is just right? Well, why are women of color more likely to die from heart disease than white women? Right. So we could look, and you're comparing two populations, so we know who we're talking about. It's clear and focused in that we know we're looking at the why. So either the causes, symptoms, or strategies, right? We can say that why and turn it into one of those. And then we're comparing these two groups only for heart disease. So again, you might be able to, you might have to explain heart disease a bit, but at least you know you're only looking at it in two populations, white women, and you can even go to young white women or women of the same age groups if you can find articles like that. And you can even add a location like in the United States. So again, the more information you have in your research question, usually you can get closer to narrow. Because again, you don't want to be so broad that you're talking about all women everywhere. You don't want to be too narrow in that you're talking about too specific of a population, that there's not enough published on it. So I would still have to go and look and see if there's enough articles about this particular comparison. If there aren't enough articles comparing these two things, I might have to broaden this a little bit. Okay, so questions. Do we want to do another example? How are we feeling? Give me thumbs or questions in the chat. Does this make sense? Because this is the hardest part. We're going to do a test example too. Okay, yeah. Because like it seems straightforward, and then you're doing it, and you're like, wait, what? Do I have another just right? Oh no, I don't. Um, okay, yeah. So we'll do our activity. This will help us with the examples. Okay. All right, so let's do a practice, and this will help us learn more about our examples so we can also review what's right. Okay, so just like our polling before, you're going to choose A, B, or C. And again, you're trying to get to the best research question. So what is the one that is just right in scope? What is one that we can actually research and find things about, and it will make sense? So our issue that our professor gave us is gender discrimination. So how are people mistreated? How are they sometimes abused or ignored based on their gender, right? How they present themselves. Um, so which of the do you think is the best research question? A, what strategies can successfully equalize pay gaps for women? B, how many more women than men were laid off, I have to fix that, during the COVID pandemic in computer management skills positions in the Bay Area? Or C, why do women get hired less often than men? Which is the best research question? A, B, or C? And I'll give you a second to think about it. And again, best research question. Which one can we actually find information on? That's just right. A, B, or C? Okay, we have an A. What else? Okay, Maureen also says A. I know sometimes it's that thing where you're like, oh, somebody already said something. I'm just going to go with what they said. Okay, looks like we have a consensus with A. I don't know if Eunice led the charge there or what, but yeah, you're right. So it is A. And let's talk about, so why is it A? And again, you can use chat or mic. Why is it A? What makes A the better research question? I mean, we all agreed, but now we have to explain ourselves. So what about A makes it just right for research? Again, think about what we talked about. Let me go back. This is what just right looks like. Pause for effect. Okay, so why A? An educated guess is okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh,
Go
okay,
ahead,
perfect.
Eunice.
Because the research is too narrow
Yeah. So for which one is too narrow?
for um just right. I'm not sure. I'm just
Okay, so let's talk about the other example. So we chose A. We said A was the best. So
uh-huh.
what about B makes it not a good research question? And this can be to anyone, not just Eunice, because we all chose A. So okay, Lori said in the chat it isn't too broad or narrow. Okay, so we're trying to get in between, but what about it makes it um just right? Let's talk about B. Why is B not the correct answer? Is it too broad or too narrow? Look at B. Is B too broad or is it too narrow?
Would it be too narrow?
Yes. Yep, you got it. So when we're looking at B, Eunice says B is too narrow. So remember when we talked about, let's go back. When we talked about narrow, we said, can this be answered with a fact? So if we're asking a question that can be literally Googled, um, how many more men, right? How many more women than men were laid off? We can look that up. It's a number. That's
I think it's too narrow question that we can talk about it.
yes. Nope, you got it, Maureen. It is too narrow. Um, B is too narrow, right? It's just a fact. That's a number that we can look up and tell people.
Yeah.
C is too broad, right? Why do women get hired less often than men? Well, which women, right? Which men? In what industry? Are we talking about computer science? Are we talking about doctors? Where? In the United States, in Africa, in Europe, across the globe? Are we talking about a time period? So in the 1990s, are we talking about since 1965? Like this C is too broad, right? There's just too many aspects of this. We don't know which group of women they're talking about, in which industry they're getting hired, how they're getting hired, and then in what time period and location. So again, I feel like when you're looking at these, when you're thinking about the best research question, I agree with Lori that it needs to be not too broad or too narrow. But again, you need to be able to look at specific strategies or aspects of the question. And let me go back to, again, one more time to review what a just right looks like. Oops, go back. Again, clear and focused. You should be able to look at the question and say, I know exactly what is being asked and who is involved. That is a really big part of this. So with this question, we know that the purpose of this question is to look at strategies. So how do people do things? How do they accomplish this? And then the people they're talking about is women. And again, we can be more specific about which women, right? So women in basketball, women in medical field, women in the army. But in terms of what we're looking at, we're looking for strategies to make pay equal. That's a pretty clear and focused thing that I can now research. I can put that into Google and I can start looking for articles right now about strategies to make pay equal for women. What are people doing to make pay make more sense? Okay, let's do another example because I feel like this one's a tough one. Okay. Okay, so we're doing the same thing. We're choosing the just right research question. So again, what is just right for us? And our issue is women in sports. A is how do women athletes handle stress? B is how are gender norms changing in televised sports as there are more female broadcasters in the field? Or C, how many ACL tears and other knee injuries are there for young women who play volleyball in the United States? Again, we're looking for the best research question that is just right in scope. It needs to be clear and focused. We need to see the purpose and we need to know who exactly they're talking about. And it can't be too many people, but it needs to be enough people, right? And this is the tough part about making a just right research question. Okay, so A, B, or C, which is the best research question? And it's okay to like defer from people because we're gonna talk about why. Okay, so Eunice says B. What are the others? Maureen says B as well. Does anyone think something other than B or would like to share their answer in general? C sounds okay too. Okay, so Eunice said maybe C. And then Lori says A. So Lara says B. Okay, so let's talk about it. Okay, so Lori chose A. Lori, can you tell us about why you chose A in either chat or the mic? And if you just guess, that's okay too. You can also say that because we'll talk about why. Oh, she changed to B. Okay. So what about B? Oh, sorry. No, she didn't. That was Lara's answer. Any idea why you chose A? Okay. Lori says it didn't sound too broad, and the other one sounded too narrow to me. Okay. So this is the tough part about the assignment. So in this case, it is B, and let me tell you why. So A is a good question, but again, we're still a little broad in terms of which athletes and then what types of stress. So the how of it is helpful, but it's still too broad in terms of if you were to go look at this article, there would be actually, let's do some searching in the library because I think Google used to show you your results and now it doesn't, which is annoying. So let's compare our topics. Okay, so our first topic was how do women handle stress. You don't put the whole question into our search box for the library. You just use what we call keywords. So I'm going to put in women athletes and stress. And you get about 2,000 results. That's not terrible, but still pretty wide ranging in terms of what kind of results you get. So again, this one's about stress resilience, but it's for young women athletes, right? So we're already getting more specific. They're talking about specifically high school people. Then they've got stuff for eating disorders, right? So this is about elite volleyball players, and then you'd have to see are these people also young or not? Um, there's stress and chronic stress, so as a specific type. This one's also about young athletes, but these are Mexican athletes, right? So again, even from our results, we don't have a lot of them, but they're kind of all over the place. There's still too many different types of stresses. There's too many types of sports. So here's a one on tennis, for example. We saw one on soccer. There was one on volleyball. Like it's too many different aspects to cover in one research paper. You would have to cover all of these different types of articles and somehow make sense of all of them together. So that's why that's a little too broad for our topic. It doesn't the how of it and the types of athletes and the types of stress, that's too many different things to cover in one paper. Does that make sense? Again, too broad. A is too many different types of women and not too many stressors. C, for folks who put C, C is our narrow one. So C is literally something that I can Google. So how many ACL tears? That's a number. So there's your number. So again, when it can be answered with a fact, it's too narrow. I literally can Google this and they can give me this number. Now I can check this number to make sure it's true, but this is not enough for an essay. How many tears? I already answered it. It's 0.1 per 1,000, 0.08 per 1,000 athletes, right? That's not enough for a research paper. That's just a fact. That's a number. That's literally the answer. There's no more to write about. So again, B is the better one because just like we said with our Just Right page, It has a clear and focused topic. So we're talking about gender norms. So how people present, what we expect people to be like according to their gender. We talking about a specific place, televised sports. So that's like, soccer, football. There's still a lot of televised sports that you can choose from, but there's enough of them for me to write a paper on. And then we're looking at female broadcasters. So people who do online the TV sports and are women. Again, a specific group of women, not a whole bunch of women, not every woman, a specific group of women we're going to look at. And so again, this would be at least a 10-page paper because I know I have a small group of sports, I have a specific group of women, and I'm going to look at the gender norms in this particular job as opposed to everything. So pay and gender norms and how many jobs there are and whether or not they like their jobs, like job satisfaction. There's only one thing I have to talk about, which is gender norms. It is clear and focused in terms of a topic. Okay, questions, comments, concerns. Because again, this is the toughest part. I want to reiterate that you can absolutely ask for help with this. This is the hardest part about doing research topics and questions is getting to that just right. Come to the library research help desk with your possible question and we can talk to you about how to get it to just right. Or if it already is there, then we'll just say, congrats, you did great. So this workshop is not going to give you the answer outright. You'll still need to do some work with this, but know that you have help and the librarians will help you. Okay. So let's talk about actually making a just right question. We've got about 15 minutes, so this will go kind of fast and furious. But I do want to give you an example of some strategies for making just right questions. So one of them is called a mind or concept map. And a mind map is basically a graphical way to represent ideas and concepts. So it's a visual tool that helps you kind of make sense of information or structure it so you can better explain, understand, and summarize and remember it. So again, basically the idea of the map is to connect your ideas together. That's the whole point. A concept map is the same thing. Instead of mind mapping, you're still connecting these ideas, but there's a main topic and you're just kind of drawing a line between them, basically. So let's look at some actual examples. We're going to watch this short video that's going to explain, give you an example of concept mapping. All right, so let's look at it.
Mapping your research ideas.
Creating a map of your research ideas is a strategy you can use whenever you need to figure out your paper topic or come up with a list of possible research questions. It's also handy when you need to narrow or broaden the topic of your paper.
To get started, grab a blank piece of paper and a pen or pencil. First, draw a circle in the middle of the page and write your idea for paper topic inside. If you're not sure what to write, you can start by connecting your class or assignment with something you're passionate about.
You can pause the video here and take a few minutes to write down your topic.
Next, think about all the questions you have about your topic.
What are you curious about?
What would you like to know? As you brainstorm, try to use a variety of question words and phrases. You can pause the video here and take a few minutes to write down as many questions as possible about your topic.
Next, look for a section of your question map that looks particularly interesting to you and try adding new questions to this section. Note that you can quickly narrow your topic by focusing on themes. For example, cultural aspects, geographic areas, groups of people, and time spans or historical events.
At this point, focus on asking specific questions to narrow your topic.
Let your curiosity lead the way.
Pause the video again and take another few minutes to add new questions to the page.
Now look at your map and the questions you've asked. You probably have quite a few possibilities to consider. By choosing keywords and concepts from your map, you can formulate your ideas into the question you want to explore.
So what's next?
Here are just a few ideas.
First, take another look at your assignment. Which of your questions do you think best addresses the prompt? Of these, which questions are you most passionate about exploring?
Once you choose a section of the map to focus on, You can use keywords and phrases to search in Google Scholar or an article database to see what specific conversations researchers are having about your topic. Finally, you may want to check with your instructor to see if a topic is too narrow, too broad, or just right.
Okay. All right. So that video is very helpful in terms of like getting us started.
Mapping your
Oh no. Okay. Nope, that's right. Okay. So again, concept mapping is this idea that we're going to take some of our ideas that we have, and we're going to connect them together to make sense of what we're interested in. That's all you're doing. You're literally just connecting ideas that you have. It's like a brainstorm, right? So normally maybe we make a pro-con list. Maybe you're someone who takes notes and you just kind of write out different words and then later on you go back and look them up. It's just a way to take notes as you think about what you want your topic to be. So in this example, we're going to use homelessness in LA as a sample concept map. We know that in LA, homelessness is a big issue. It has a lot of different parts and people and perspectives. So again, very broad of a topic. Our job in terms of concept mapping is to just write down our initial idea. So write down where you are right now before you do any research really, and think about the things that you care about in terms of homelessness in LA. Okay, so to start, homelessness in LA has political, economic, and social aspects, right? So the political aspects of homelessness right now is there are city council laws. So there are city laws that they make about homelessness that impact how people are treated when they are in LA and how each area of the city treats their homeless in LA. So I know for a fact there was I think it's resolution 4118 or something like that, which basically said that unhoused people could not sleep or lay on like benches or like on the street. So those city council laws, those are laws that you can look at if you want to look at how politically homelessness is treated in LA, right? You would look at the actual laws that city council passes. You can also look at the Supreme Court rulings. So the Supreme Court, the biggest court in America, has also ruled in terms of what cities can do with people who are homeless, right? We just had another court case about this. So again, you could look at this politically and say, how are people at the federal level, so at the government level, way at the top, how are they talking about homelessness in terms of people, and how does that impact LA, right? So all these laws kind of trickle down to us eventually. And then lastly, if we want to look at the politics of homelessness, we could say, well, how do police enforce homelessness, right? And these are actually connected, these two, especially city council and police, because they are enforcing the laws that come from these two areas. So the laws that come down through the Supreme Court, you can actually put another line in between these two boxes. The laws that come from the Supreme Court and the laws that come from city council, the police are enforcing those laws. So how are they actually going about making sure that people are not sleeping in places they're not supposed to, or whatever the law says, right? That's their whole job, is to reinforce those laws. Additionally, we could look at homelessness from an economic point, right? So we say economically, and this is the box in the lower left-hand corner. How do people become homeless, right? So they lose their job. That's very common in LA. It's expensive to live here. People lose their job and they can't pay rent, and then they get evicted, right? So that's also connected to the cost of living. It's very expensive to live here. So if you don't have money, or you don't have enough money to have an apartment or have a roommate or live with your family, you cannot afford to have a home in LA. And that means that you're going to be homeless, right? So there's an economic cost. There's a way in which having money or not having money contributes to you being homeless. And then lastly, poverty as a concept, right? So being impoverished, not having any money or resources. Very often, if you can't go to your parents' house, or you can't go to your girlfriend's house, or you can't go stay with your friend, you're homeless, right? So just not having resources, being in poverty, means that you will most likely be in a position where you don't have a house, right? So these are the different aspects of how we can look at homelessness. There's a political way, through the government and through laws. We can look at it through money. So losing your job, the fact that LA has a high cost of living, that people don't have money and that they're in poverty. So let's talk about more mind mapping. What about social aspects of homelessness? When we think about homelessness in terms of society, so our relationship to one another, what kind of ideas would you put in this mind map for where the question marks are? What's a social way that we can think of homelessness? And again, there are no wrong answers in mind mapping. You can guess. How would you talk about homelessness in terms of society? And this can even be from your own opinions about homelessness. So how do you think about homelessness right now? When you see people who are unhoused or you see something in the news about homelessness, what do you think about that socially? What does it do or how does it impact us?
Well, it has a big impact in the city, since it creates a lot of trash, and it creates a lot of bad influence on people.
Okay, so socially, homelessness creates environments where people are unable to gather because there's trash, right? So it decreases public space, right? So because people are sleeping on the street, we can't get together socially. If there's trash there, people maybe are standing around loitering, right? So then there's maybe these areas become unsafe for people to gather socially. So yeah, that's a good point, Eunice. Any others? How does this impact us socially? So how does it affect people? And again, there are no wrong answers in mind mapping. You're just kind of getting your ideas out.
I mean, it pollutes the air too. Again, I mean, not much, but I mean, like, with all the combination of chemicals thrown, I don't know. I'm
Okay,
kind
so
of guessing.
we could add another aspect to this. We could say environmental, and we could add the trash to that. So again, you can kind of see how the mind mapping works. You can add more boxes to this and connect the ideas. And again, the only thing you're doing with mind mapping is just getting your ideas out. So you could look at articles. I mean, if you feel stuck, one thing you can always do um, with mind mapping, I like to go to Wikipedia. There it is. Oh, it's in Chinese. Okay. Um, and then I like to just search the topic. I don't know why this is still in Chinese. It's translating to me for some reason. Okay, there we go. So use Wikipedia and then just see what the aspects are. So here's, so healthcare can be an aspect we look at. My goodness, why? Lord. Okay. Oh, maybe I think I'm in the Chinese Wikipedia, so that's my fault. Sorry. Somehow I chose Chinese Wikipedia. Okay. But there's healthcare, there's health effects. You can look at it across the globe, right, in different situations. The causes of it. And here's what we said, those factors, right? So we could talk about economic. We talked about that. Again, there's poverty. That looks familiar. Um, so people who have lost their jobs. The house was sealed. I'm guessing that's in China because again, I chose the wrong Wikipedia. Um, so people don't have homes. We could look at diseases in terms of mental illness, and then socially, we could look at family factors. So when people have domestic violence, that could be one of the social aspects, right? How do people become unhoused because they're having different problems at home with their spouses and families? We can also look at parent and children when children run away from home, right? So again, if you need to build, start with Wikipedia, but you're basically just filling out ideas and you're just putting it all down. The point to this, like we saw in the video, is to take these ideas and then create some questions. Any questions about mind mapping before I go to other strategies? Again, this is just one strategy that you're going to do. Like I said, you can also free write, like they said, so just write down a whole bunch of things, ideas that you have, things that you care about. Have a conversation with someone. This is actually the way that I do my research development. I have conversations with people, so I'll ask my friend, like, what do you think about homelessness in LA right now? And we talk about it, and then I write down the things that come up as we speak to each other. And that's really actually a great way to develop a research question. What do people care about? Well, you can talk to people. We have a source called Credo Reference. This is really great. This is our encyclopedia database. And so the great thing about Credo is you can look up topics just like you can in Wikipedia or in Google. And again, it gives you a concept map already. So here's some other terms that you'll find. Again, there's poverty, looks familiar, that's related to homelessness, right? And then they also have some actual encyclopedic articles you can read to get a better idea. Why are people homeless? Who is the most vulnerable, right? What's the impact? How do they respond? So what are the responses to homelessness? How are people helping people who are homeless, right? So that's our background information database. It's for encyclopedias. You can use AI. I have concerns environmentally about AI, but you can talk to an AI tool and say, hey, what's a great research question for homelessness? And they'll give you some ideas, and you can start there and build your own. But lastly, the most important part, if you're really stuck, and I see some people are still kind of figuring out how to make a research question, think about the who, what, when, where, and why. Who am I talking about? Again, is it women? Is it men? Is it children? Is it dogs? Is it whales? Who's involved? What is involved? Are there strategies? Are there issues? Are there unanswered questions? When? Do I want to talk about a recent time period? Do I want to talk about now? Do I want to talk about prehistory, right before we were in a culture? Where do I want to talk about United States or Asia or Europe or the Middle East? And then why? Why is this issue interesting? Why should other people care about my research question? And that's the impact. What about this is interesting to me and will it be interesting to others? So again, this page is super important. I think it kind of helps you get to the real part of why this is so helpful, and really gives you alternative ideas besides concept mapping to create your research question. Okay, so just to review, today we discussed the research process. It's super messy. I don't know if you noticed, you go back and forth a lot. It'll be really hard in some ways to find a research question that's just right, but we are here to help you. Again, you can contact the library using these methods here, and we can help you out. Eunice is asking about Credo. So not credo.com, that's different. So Credo Reference is actually a database that we have in the library. Let me put it in the chat. Let me go get the correct link for you. And the good news is you can use Credo off campus. It'll just have you log in first. So yeah, this is Credo. So yeah, use that link. Credo.com is different. I think it's the same company actually, but Credo.com is the public one. Let me go look at Credo.com. Uh-oh, they don't even like me using it. Okay, let me go to Credo. Oh, I can't even get to Credo.com. So yeah, it's not the same in terms of like the content for sure. I don't know if it's the same company. But yeah, use this Credo link. This is the database for encyclopedias. Like I said, it'll have the information that you need to kind of start your concept map. Okay. All right. So lastly, I'll also put this survey in here. Go ahead and fill this out. And then once you're finished with that survey, you are finished with the workshop. Again, make sure you give yourself time to do this. As you saw, this process is really hard. Making research questions is one of the hardest parts of doing research, in my opinion. But if you use your mind mapping and some of those other strategies, and talk to a librarian about scope, make sure you have a just right research question, you should be okay. And again, make sure you give yourself time to do this. Okay, so again, thank you so much for attending. I appreciate your interaction. I appreciate your engagement. If you need to contact the library, here's our contact information. Fill out that last survey, and then you can head out, and I'll make sure you get credit in my GCC. So please fill that survey out, and then you're done. Thanks so much. If you have questions, I'll stick around for a little bit. But otherwise, have a great day.
Hi, Aisha.
Hi
Thank you for
there.
staying.
How can I help? What's up?
So I was trying to do some research for my paper,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm trying to do a paper for recipe development. But when I went into the GCC library website, it
Mm-hmm.
kept giving me results for child development and recipes for child development. Like I'm not sure, so I don't know. Like, is there a way for me to be able to get more a specific research? Because I was even looking for a specific chef for that it was developing the recipes, but it was still like the name of the chef is Julia Child, so that's
Mm-hmm.
why it was giving me child development recipes.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah. So this is where
Yeah.
the searching terms helps. Okay. So what I would suggest for you, don't use this general search box. Use our advanced search, and that's underneath here.
Okay.
And I'll put this in the chat too for you. So advanced search lets you kind of be more specific. We also have a workshop about this called Pro Tips. I forgot to put that in the chat. But basically, there are ways where you can tell the database. Let me make this bigger for you. You can
Oh,
tell the
thank you.
database that you want specific things only. So in your case, you were looking for, you said Julia Child, right?
Yes.
And then you said recipes for her.
Recipe development. Yes.
Okay, recipe development. And then you can add a new line. And one of the things that is helpful is this thing called not. So not tells the computer, it's what we call an operator. It basically gives the computer directions. It says, computer, with not, don't give me child development.
Oh, okay.
So this is helpful, yeah. Um, and the ands mean definitely include that. So they should give me stuff for truly a child. And I can put her name in quotes if I want to, so they can give me that specific person. They'll hopefully look up recipe development as terms that might show up. That again, it contains those terms, but it shouldn't give you anything that has child development as a word in it. So let's see what happens. This should work, hopefully. Okay, yeah.
Oh,
So
I
here's some
see.
web resources. There's not a lot though. So yeah, all this stuff is Julia Child, but there's not a ton of stuff about like how she developed. You might, this might be a good Google search. Because in the library, we have a lot of like I said, scholarly articles. What you'll probably need is stuff that's written by like actual chefs. So that's going to be more trade materials.
I see.
Um, but let's do a Google version. Okay. And again, you might get different results because I'm logged in as myself. So Google changes your results based on who you are. But yeah, so I'm gonna do the same thing in words this time. So Julia Child, that's her name. So I'm gonna put that in quotations. That's gonna give me only her. And is gonna say, give me this and recipe development. And then I'm gonna say not child development. And again, that says, give me these things, but do not give me child development as a term because I don't want to get weird stuff. And I'll put that in quotation because that's the quotations tells it to look for that exact phrase. So
Gotcha.
don't give me child development. So yeah, so there's Julia Child stuff. Um, let's see. And they're still giving me child development. I don't know why. Hmm. Okay, something didn't go right with my search. Let me see if I need to put another and there. Nope. Let me.
Yeah, because I've been trying to like look for some information, but
Oh,
like all I've been getting is just child development stuff.
yeah. Oh, sorry. So with Google, so in our database, use not with Google, use a minus sign. I forgot about that. It's different. That's why it didn't work. Okay. So you use a minus sign. So this minus in this search means don't do child development. And there you
Okay.
go. Yeah, now it changes. Okay, yep. So there's some now we got some stuff for the Virginia
Let me see. Okay.
history and culture, some stuff about her legacy. Um,
Okay.
yep, this thing. And again, it'll probably be mostly blogs, like I said. So these are people's opinions. You want to make sure you look up who's writing this stuff. Uh, This is oh, weird. She was like a research assistant to the CIA. That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, so this one's cool. So the Smithsonian is a national museum, and they have a handwritten recipe from her, but it's just
Yeah,
the
they
actual
have her
thing. It's not
kitchen
like
in
an
there.
explanation. Yeah. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So the development part might be a little hard in terms of her. I'm not sure. They say what she did, but it doesn't really say how she did it. Which I think is what you're trying to get to, right? Is like the how. Um,
Yeah.
but at the very least, yeah, in Google, use this minus and then take out any words you don't want, minus child development in this case, and that will get you to, and I'll put that in chat for you too, so you have
Thank
it.
you so much.
That'll,
Is
yeah.
there is there another class for to be able to do all of this kind of research? Like with
Um,
because I
you mean
did
in terms of
the
the search strategies?
yes.
Yeah, so we have, like I said, we have pro tips. Pro tips goes over and or not. The next one is on October 12th. So pro tips will go over the basics of this, and we do it in the database.
Yeah.
But you can still take it and definitely ask the instructor about your search. So they'll probably ask you to do a specific search in here, and you can give your example. But yeah, October 12th is the next one. That's a Saturday though at 10.
Oh, that's perfect for me. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for your help.
Okay. Yep. No worries. And then, like I said, you can always chat with us anytime you see this box. That might be a great chat question too. To chat
Oh,
with us, and
okay.
we can get on Zoom with you just like we are right now, but they can just work on that with you and see if we can if you they can find you some recipe development stuff.
Oh, okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I really
You're
appreciate
welcome.
it.
Thanks for participating in the workshop.
Oh, thank you for the class. It was pretty
Okay.
helpful.
Okay. Good
Thank you.
luck.
Have a good
Like I
one.
said, let us know if you need some more help with that.
I will. Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.